lot of us tend to spend a lot of time thinking about how am I going to scale this service, thinking about how I'm going to close sales calls before we've even attracted a single person to want to talk to us about that solution. That to me seems like a really, really big waste of time. Typically, the first problem is a lack of focus at this level. But if that delivery margin was, let's say, 34% instead of 64%, then this business would have a 4% net margin. Not very good. If this is true, we have the foundation to scale in the business. Then it's just a question of managing overhead expenses and kind of being fiscally responsible about how we run the business.
Hi, my name is Avi Arya, father of 2 girls, 6 dogs, husband to a superwoman, a streetcar racer turned hotelier, then marketer and founder of Internet Moguls.
What up, Internet Moguls?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to yet another Thursday session with Internet Moguls of the World School. Divyansh, I think Avi sir is in the members zone. Can you also make him a panelist, please? So I want to welcome all of you and welcome our very special guest for today. He's a serial entrepreneur, a coach, a trainer, a consultant, a keynote speaker, and whatnot. He helps other agencies to measure and improve profitability. He has helped literally hundreds of agencies improve their profitability. So I welcome for all of you, co-founder and CEO of Parquito, Marcel Petitpas. I welcome Marcel. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, most welcome. And the topic that Marcel is going to pick up today is how beginners can start their own digital marketing agency. So Marcel, there are a lot of digital marketing agency owners here in this community, and some are about to join. And they, consistently struggle with their cash flows, their profitability, and most of them are, working, facing these challenges because of low-ticket clients. And as I was going through your LinkedIn bio, I saw this concept of Swiss Watch agency data management system that you help other businesses implement. So maybe you give a quick introduction about what exactly do you do, and then you start off with the topic.
I'm really excited about today, and I'll go ahead, Agreement, and just kind of introduce very briefly who I am and what I do. My name is Marcel, and I specialize in agency profitability optimization. I'm the co-founder at Parquito, and we're a consulting and technology company that helps agencies, usually at the $1 to $10 million in revenue mark, measure and improve their performance. And so these are all the measurements that have to do with the questions that you might find hard to answer, like exactly how much profit do we make on clients and projects? Are there services or clients or products or different things that we do that are more or less profitable than others? Do we have the capacity to take on more work if we close this deal? Do we need to hire somebody? If so, when? Right? These are all the kind of operational based questions that you're trying to get answers to. These are the things that we help agencies measure. I also have a podcast that I host called the Agency Profit Podcast, which I encourage you all to check out if you find what I'm talking about here today interesting. And I'm also the head strategic coach at SaaS Academy by Dan Marcel, which is one of the top coaching programs in the world for B2B SaaS. There, I focus a little bit more on marketing and sales training. And then I'm also the fractional chief operating officer at Goldfront, which is an award-winning creative agency out of San Francisco that works with clients like Uber, Slack, Nike, Adobe, et cetera. So I get to apply a lot of what I'm going to teach today, very much in the weeds with them as kind of a unique client of ours at Parquito. So the high level of today is, really how I think about getting an agency from zero to, a level where it's ready to scale. And then we can spend a little bit of time talking about what's required to scale. But I want to make this an interactive session. I want to make sure that what I touch on today is most helpful given your context. So to give me a sense of who's in the room, let me know in the chat, put a yes in the chat if you are currently selling services, whether it's as an agency or maybe it's a part of your product offering. If you sell services as a consultant, as an agency, let me know. Thank you, Savi, Agrim, Ashit, SK Riki. Oh man, I love this. Awesome. Perfect. So you're all in the right place. Now, the next thing I'd like to know is what kind of size are you at right now? Are you a single person? If that's the case, right, solo, or if you have a team, put in the number of people that are on your team, and that'll give me a sense of the kind of scale that you're at and help me triangulate this to make sure it's as helpful as possible. So we got 10 solo, we have 200. team of 8, team of 2, team of 6, solo. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to kind of focus on that 1 to 10, 15 person kind of trajectory. So you can kind of locate where you are, where the gaps are, and then how to get to the next level. So that's it. Before I get into that, I'll just reiterate that Parakeeto helps agencies measure and improve their profitability. This is all we do. It's our core focus, and we like to think we're pretty good at it. So I'm going to skip over the rest of this stuff, and we're going to jump in. The first thing I want to share is a model that I drew up just for this session. And this is kind of how I think about not just scaling an agency, but getting any business off the ground. And many of you have a team, so you've already done some of this stuff, but I think it serves as a good reminder and might be eye-opening if there are some places where you're facing friction, right? So starting a business, of course, all starts with a problem, right? It starts with a problem. If you're not crystal clear, if I ask you, hey, what problem do you solve for your clients? And you don't have a very clear answer to that question, then that's problematic. It probably means that your positioning is diluted, and that might be part of the reason why you might struggle to get clients or get clients to pay you what you believe your services are worth. So it starts with a problem and then a unique solution point of view, right? So in my case at Parakeeto, the problem is for agencies, it's hard to answer those simple and important questions about clients and projects and people. And it's hard to get data that's timely and accurate in a way that's not super time consuming. And so our unique point of view on how to solve that problem is using this 3-step methodology that we apply for all of our clients, whereby we audit, implement, and then manage a agency reporting system for them. And we also have a very unique framework in terms of how we measure agencies. We've created a really good best practice for kind of the modern way of measuring an agency, which relies a lot more on operations data because it's more timely and it's more precise while also being more cost effective. So we've kind of developed a very unique point of view on how to solve this problem. And that's where you get your differentiation from. So assuming that you've done that, then there are essentially 4 steps to getting that business to scale, right? And so this is what I'm going to call the ACDS model, ACDS model. So ACDS stands for number 1, attract. So first and foremost, we need to figure out how do we attract people, clients that have this problem so that we can share our framework with them and get them a solution to that problem. Then we need to convert that attention into paying customers. We want to have them give us an opportunity to help them, serve them. Then we have to actually deliver the outcomes that we've promised and get the client the result. And then once we figured those things out, now we're ready to scale. And so what I have discovered in my career as a coach over the last 4 years, I've done one-on-one calls with over 400 companies doing anywhere from $10,000 to over $1 million a month in revenue. We've helped hundreds of agencies improve their profitability. We've done this in SaaS as well, like lots and lots of surface area with entrepreneurs. And typically, the first problem is a lack of focus at this level. And even companies that have a lot of traction, you know, as an entrepreneur, I'm an ideas person. A lot of you are probably ideas people as well. It's hard not to wake up in the middle of the night with all these wonderful ideas on how we can make the world a better place and build new products. But that can actually be our biggest weakness because it takes our eye off the focus, which should be a very, very clear, simple, and compelling problem that we solve and point of view on how we solve it, and a very, very specific market that we're trying to attract. So the first problem I see is focus. The second problem I see, especially at the early startup stage, is attacking this from a poor sequencing perspective. And that really means starting at the bottom and trying to go up as opposed to starting at the top and going down. So a lot of us tend to spend a lot of time thinking about how am I going to scale this service? And how am I going to deliver this service? And thinking about how I'm going to close sales calls and solving all of these problems before we've even attracted a single person to want to talk to us about that solution. That to me seems like a really, really big waste of time. What's the point in spending all kinds of time designing a product, figuring out how to deliver it, designing the sales deck, if we don't have an opportunity to actually use any of that? So my thesis and my methodology for getting businesses off the ground has always been sell first, ask questions last, or sell yourself into the next problem that you have. And so the way I kind of think about this is your first product is your marketing, right? Your marketing should serve more people than your product ever does. That's my thesis. That's why I'm marketing to you right now, right? We all know that that's happening. That's how the sausage is made. I'm marketing to you right now, but I'm doing it in a way that I hope creates value for both of us. I get attention, authority. Some of you might be interested in speaking to me about our services, but you're going to walk away from this hopefully having learned something that helps your business, right? It's a win-win. That's exactly right, Santosh. So attract, marketing, this is your first product. And so the way I think about this is once you know what the problem is that you solve, once you have a unique point of view on how to solve that problem, the first step is to go out and start sharing that information in the world. And there's all kinds of different strategies that we can use. There's really 4 ways that we can distribute that. So 4 channels for attention. 4 channels for attention, right? Within these, there's lots of micro strategies, but there's essentially 4 ways to get attention in the modern world. The first is we can pay for attention, paid advertising. Usually we think immediately about Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google ads, right? All these ad networks, but lots of people will take your money in exchange for exposure. Magazines, billboards, newspapers, there's all kinds of traditional media. That's the idea of saying, who has access to my audience and can I pay them for access to that audience? The second is we can compete for attention. And this is generally search engine optimization, not just Google, but YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world. You have things like Capterra, lots of other places that people go looking for solutions and looking for answers to questions. And if we can get into those environments and figure out how to rank at the top of the list when somebody searches a query for that particular problem, then we can compete for attention, which is cost effective, but can be time consuming. The third is we can borrow attention. And this is my favorite way to get attention in the early days. This is generally through partners or earned media and PR. This is what I'm doing right now. Avi came to me. He said, hey, I've got a whole bunch of amazing entrepreneurs in our community. They're really, really hungry to learn. And I think that your content would really help them. Would you like to do a session together? And I said, yes, of course. I can come here. I can spend an hour. I'm getting access to his network, so I can share what I know, add some value in it, and in return get exposure. I'm borrowing the attention that Avi has already spent all these years building and creating through this organization, right? So I'm borrowing attention from Avi right now. So there's lots of different ways to do borrowing attention: podcast, guest speaking, guest blogging, showing up in groups like this, coaching programs, events. You basically just want to ask yourself, where is my audience spending time, money, or attention? And how do I go figure out how to borrow that attention from the person that's created it through adding value? And then, of course, the last way to get attention, it's often the fastest, doesn't scale really well unless you have good margins, but can be a really, really quick way to validate things off the hop, is we can grab attention. And this is usually through cold or interruption marketing, which would be things like cold emails, DMs, cold phone calls. It's figuring out who's my audience, how do I get in touch with them, and interrupting them in those channels. This is not the strategy that a lot of people enjoy doing, but it does still work and it can still be done. And if you have high ticket price points and good margins, it also can be something that scales. So at the end of the day, the first thing we have to identify is, how are we going to attract people to want to talk to us or engage with us around this problem and around our unique perspective on how to solve it? And really, it's about choosing one of these channels that we're very comfortable with and using it to start to generate that attention. And if we're in a position where we want to be conservative about cash outlay, then I would defer to borrowing or grabbing attention, because those can largely be done with an investment of time. And if you have a background or competency in SEO, then you could use that as well. It's just generally not super timely. So that's step one, is attract the right attention. Then we want to convert that attention. And this is sales. And this is, to me, your second product. Your sales deck is your second product. And this is a big idea, so really pay attention for this one. Product market fit is a function of 2 things: surface area with the market. And we create surface area with the market by attracting attention. So we actually are able to get a volume of conversations. That's the surface area. How much contact with the market are we getting? And then speed of iteration. How quickly can we adapt to the feedback that we're receiving from the market? This is the biggest problem in software. And the big advantage that services have over software is they're quick to change. But even building a little bit of process early on can really slow this down. So I want you to think about this. If you had an opportunity to talk to a customer every single day and get a sense of, what feedback they have about your product, about your service, what their needs are, what you need to do to essentially get them to buy from you. If you got to do that every single day, but it took you a month to make a change to your product, how many opportunities per year do you get to find product market fit, to iterate towards product market fit? You get 12 opportunities, 12 shots on net. If you can do it in a week, you get 52 opportunities. If you can do it in a day, you get 365 opportunities. So all things being equal, who has a higher likelihood of finding product market fit? The person who gets 12 chances to experiment, or the person who gets 52 or 365? Let me know in the chat. Who do you think has a higher likelihood of landing on an amazing product that their clients love, that is really, really connected to the needs of the market, right? The people who can move faster. So the way that you move faster is by not building your product. The first product is the sales deck, right? So this is your second product, because what's faster than editing a sales deck? I've literally done this in the past when I'm trying to start a new business. I create the attraction, right? I get into networks and groups. I borrow some attention. People then reach out to me, and I'm changing the sales deck in between calls based on the feedback that I'm getting until finally people start buying. And only when they start buying do I actually worry about building the product or delivering the product. And sometimes I'll take their money and then I'll give it right back to them and say, actually, this isn't built yet. I'm just testing to see if this is actually something that's compelling. But that's a really important thing. We often think about customer success or customer development as asking for feedback. The problem is most people are really nice. And I'm a Canadian, right? So we really have this problem here. If I ask people what they think about my business idea, most people are going to be nice and they're going to say, I think it's really good. I think it's really smart. When I ask them for $1, that's when the real feedback comes out. So you want to think about sales as your first product, and editing your sales process, editing your sales deck is the way that you can go from 365 opportunities to as many sales calls as you can get in a day. And you could literally be changing the sales deck, iterating on your product, if you will, in between sales calls, so that by the time it comes to building the delivery system, there's no risk to wasting time because you've already sold it. In fact, you've gotten paid to do that work, as opposed to taking the risk of doing all that work and then figuring out that the product won't sell, right? So really think about, how do you sell yourself into the next problem? Hopefully this is resonating for you. Thank you, Grim, Anjay, Tasif, Savi. Appreciate the support there. So sales, there's one nugget I'll give you on sales, which is it's your unique solution POV. So the highest level framework to an effective sales call is 3 steps. Number 1, validate the pain. I had a conversation with an entrepreneur yesterday, and he said to me, I'm trying to figure out our value. And he's thinking about value, and he's thinking about all of his services and his products and features and benefits. And he's thinking, how do I create more value here? And I said, the first thing you need to remember is that value only exists in the context of pain, right? If I have this miracle pill that doesn't actually make you feel better or make a pain go away, right? Painkillers versus vitamins, it's not compelling. So first step in any sales call is validate the pain. Ask the client questions and make sure that the pain that they're feeling is real, that they acknowledge it, and that you are speaking about the pain using the same language. Once we know that they have the pain, then we need to agree on the solution framework, right? And so this is when you say, okay, what is the solution to the problem? And if you can draw this, that's an incredible thing, right? So just like this, if I said, for example, the 4 steps to scaling a new business is the ACDS model, right? You need to attract, convert, deliver, and scale. And then I went through with the client, okay, how are you doing on attract? It could be as simple as saying, okay, you're red on attract, you're red on convert, you're a yellow on deliver, right? And you're red on scale. Okay, great. So we want to get the client to agree that, okay, these are the things that need to be true in order for me to get to the right outcome. So they need to agree to your framework or your point of view on how this problem needs to get solved. Once they agree to that, then we present our solution. But the important thing is in the context of the solution framework, right? So I don't have this product, unfortunately, right? But if I did, if by the end of this call, I said, okay, so now we all agree that ACDS is what you need to do to start a new business. And then I told you about a program that I designed that helps you implement each of these 4 pillars. That's a compelling solution. That's a compelling offer because we've agreed that you need these 4 things. And now all I need to do is prove to you that my product can get you those 4 things. So at a high level, that's how you run an effective sales call. Validate the pain, get the client to agree with you on what needs to be true to solve the pain, and then present your solution as it relates to that framework that they've already agreed is the solution to their problem. It's a little bit abstract here, but hopefully that's making sense, right? Is at a high level, what are the requirements and how does my product now fit into the requirements? That is how we start to convert people from being interested in solving the problem into now purchasing your solution based on your point of view on how to do it. Then we go into delivery, and this is how we actually do the work. And this is your third product. A lot of people think about this as their product, but this is your third product. Now that we've made a sale, now we figure out how to actually do the thing that we've sold. And this is the beautiful thing about services is your first couple of deals, first couple of things that you sell, doesn't even really matter if you make money because it's probably just your time as a solo founder doing this. So it's about selling the problem and then figuring out how to do it after the fact. And the worst case scenario is if you mess this up, you refund somebody their money. That's the worst case. Don't be afraid of overextending yourself a little bit here. Just make sure that you are able to refund the money if there's a lot of risk around the execution here. So I want to talk a little bit here about once you've done these 3 things, right? So once we've figured out how to attract, convert, and deliver, now how do we set ourselves up for scale? Once we've validated that we have a real product and we have real throughput, how do we set ourselves up for scale? And so those of you that answered earlier in the chat that you've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 people on your team, this is probably the stage that you're at where you've got to try to break through to the next level. So let's talk about that for a moment. What's required for scale? There are essentially 3 things that we need to do in order to scale. Number 1 is we need to have a delivery framework. Number 2, we need to have margins, strong margins. And I'm going to have a bit of a contrarian view here, but I don't think you need high ticket clients to scale. I don't think you need to charge a lot of money for your service to scale. You need to have good margins, and increasing your rates is the easiest way to do that, but it's not the only way to do that. So we'll talk about that in a moment. You need to have good margins. And then the third thing that you need to do is you need to have cash flow. So let's talk about each of these things individually. So the first is the delivery framework. So in order to scale, essentially what you need to be able to do is have other people do the work, right? Now, I want to stop here and say there's nothing wrong with building a business that has you doing all the work. If that's what you want, there's nothing wrong with that. And you can make lots of money doing it. But if you want to get to a place where the business is an annuity, then there needs to be some kind of a delivery framework. And so really what this is defining what are the steps that we need to take in order to get a client from start to finish and get the correct outcome. And it doesn't have to be precise, but it needs to be documented such that you know what the requirements are, right? So what are the steps that happen at each of these junctures? And what are the requirements at each of these junctures? So that's the first thing you need to do. I'm not going to go much deeper into this. It's fairly straightforward, but you get the idea. There needs to be a methodology, a step-by-step framework on how you get a client from the start to the end of an engagement. And it needs to be able to be documented in such a way that you can explain it or give it to somebody else and they can repeat that process and get a similar outcome. Assuming that you've got your delivery framework documented, then the next step is to make sure you have good margins. So I'm going to explain this in a way that applies to somebody that doesn't have any employees, but if you have employees or if you have freelancers that you're working with, this will apply to you as well. So let's talk about project margins. And this is something that's very, very confusing for a lot of people. First of all, what is the formula for margin on a project? Well, the formula is very simple. It's AGI, or agency gross income, divided by delivery costs. Oh, sorry. No, it's actually not. It's AGI. If we're talking about margin, AGI minus delivery costs over AGI. So let's talk about what this stuff actually means for a moment. So what is AGI? AGI is what we call agency gross income. And this is a function of revenue minus pass-through expenses. So what is a pass-through expense? A pass-through expense is revenue that doesn't belong to you. A good example of this would be if I run a Facebook ads agency and the client gives me $10,000 per month, but I spend $5,000 of that money on Facebook ads. That is actually a $5,000 a month retainer in terms of AGI. So in this example, $10,000 is the revenue. We have $5,000 of pass-through costs because that's money that's going to Facebook. It doesn't belong to me and I don't get to make a margin on that money. I might mark it up, that's different, but there's still $5,000 of costs that I'm incurring. So my AGI in this case is $5,000. Is that making sense to everybody? So we want to strip out the things that are passing through us, the money that goes to external vendors that we're not earning with our time, okay? So that's AGI, part one. Then the next part of this is delivery costs. What does it cost us to deliver this service? So for most people, this is the cost of labor. If you have employees, this is their cost per hour multiplied by the hours that they work. If you have freelancers, this is the cost of the freelancers. So to give you an example of this formula, if let's work continuing on this example. So we have a $10,000 retainer with a client. 5,000 of that is passed through. It's ad spend that goes to Facebook. So we now have a $5,000 AGI project. 5,000. I am going to hire a group of freelancers and some internal employees. And sorry, I'm going to move this down because my big face is in the way here. I'm going to move this over. Excuse my jumping around here. So in this example, I have a $5,000 AGI. And let's just say it costs me, in this case, $1,800 in time and salaries and freelancer fees to deliver this. So if we do the math on this, what is my delivery margin? Pop quiz. Anybody want to tell me in the chat? What's my delivery margin here on this project? We have $5,000 AGI. We had $1,800 in costs. Delivery margin is, drum roll please, it's 64%. So what this essentially means is that for every $1 in AGI that I collected from the client, I had 64 cents left over after the project was done to run the business. This is the most important number for you to pay attention to early on in your agency. What is your delivery margin? Delivery margin. Because what this essentially means is, what is the cost of earning revenue in your business? And if this isn't healthy, I'm sure you can see here how running a successful business is hard if every dollar that comes into the business has to pass through a very expensive delivery process and there's not much money left over to run the business. Because the way we get to net profit from this is, let's just say over the course of a year, you have a 64% delivery margin. You're usually going to spend another 30% of your agency gross income on overhead. So your net profit, your maximal net profit, is essentially the delta between that 30% and your delivery margin. So in this case, this is a really healthy business. This business has a 34% net margin. But if that delivery margin was, let's say, 34% instead of 64%, then this business would have a 4% net margin. Not very good. So the benchmark for delivery margin, we want to, on the profit and loss statement, be above 50% on the P&L. And that means we generally want to be above 65 or 70%. Well, we're going to say 60 to be conservative on projects. So when we price a project and when we measure how much time and cost went into a project, we want to try and set ourselves up so that we can achieve a delivery margin of over 60% on a project, so that on our profit and loss statement, when we look at our financial statements on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis, we're consistently hitting a 50% plus delivery margin. If this is true, we have the foundation to scale in the business. Then it's just a question of managing overhead expenses and kind of being fiscally responsible about how we run the business.
Thank you so much. I cannot be more grateful. A lot of people, although are messaging me in behind the scenes that we are going to rewatch this session multiple times because they have missed some parts. And I think I have to do it again, although I've made extensive notes for myself. But thank you so much. And a warm thank you from the community. Is there a place that you want to, or a link that you want to put in the chat for our audience to connect with you?
Yeah. So first and foremost, parakeeto.com/toolkit. And then if you want to connect with me, I recommend reaching out on LinkedIn. I'm not hard to find, and the information's here on my slide. So you can reach out to me there. I'll grab my LinkedIn profile here, connect with me. And if you want any more information on what we do at Parakeeto, just head to parakeeto.com. There's lots there. And I do a ton of content like this. We have a podcast, we have a YouTube channel. So dive into all of that. It's all designed to help you do all this stuff for free and just be more successful and more profitable as an agency. So thank you everyone for just amazing engagement in the chat. I felt like we were really doing this together. You're awesome. I had a lot of fun and I hope you did too.
Yes, we did. Thank you so much.
Hi guys, Avi here. Thank you very much for watching this episode. It's so much fun bringing all of this to you, but honestly, it is difficult editing, post-production, getting people together. But when you watch till the very end, it feels great. So thank you very much. Now, I'm going to give you something. An opportunity to connect with me and my ecosystem. I have an email called workwithaviarya@gmail.com. Now, what are the possibilities of working with me? Number one, if you are somebody who's liking this content that I'm putting out and saying, you know what, Avi, I want to get into your coaching. I want to get into your ecosystem. I want to understand how this works. I have a school called the Internet Moguls Business School, where we have 2 programs for entrepreneurs. Send me an email at workwithaviarya, subject Internet Moguls Business School. And then tell me about your business, what are the challenges that are happening. And accordingly, one of our sales consultants will call you, they'll tell you about your business, and finally they'll connect you with me. And we'll see if you're the right fit to work together. Number 2, if you want me to consult with you, just consulting one-on-one, understanding your business, giving you a 3-month, 5-month roadmap. So work with Avi Arya, subject consulting, and then give me all the details about your business. Next, if you want my agency to help you, you could be a product or a service, a coach, a trainer, whatever. You want us to help us set up your get known, get leads, get sales, and set up a proper system for you. Then same thing, work with Avi Arya. And in the subject, you will write agency help. And in the end, tell me exactly what you want me to do for you and what are the challenges that you're facing. And if you want to work with me in my team as a freelancer, as part-time, full-time, get into the team, work remotely from anywhere in the world. Again, work with Avi Arya and say, I want to join your team, and then tell me about yourself. Ideally, for all these things, when you put in a subject, follow it with a nice micro video so I know more about you. Because I check every email myself and I'd love to get back to you and connect you with the right people in the right company. So eventually when we talk, we have all these things figured out. Finally, if you want to interview me for your podcast or your YouTube channel, email me at podcastwithaviarya@gmail.com. So there you go. Two ways to connect with us. Work with Avi Arya, and you've got the multiple options, and you've got podcast with Avi Arya, and we can podcast together. So thank you very much for watching the videos. Don't forget to watch all these videos. Send me an email. Would love to hear from you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Avi Arya, signing off for now. Look forward to seeing you in the next video. There's a link over here which has got all my emails for you to get in touch with me as well. Click on the link and get in there. See you. Look forward to hearing that email from you. Bye for now.